Ra, the sun god and supreme ruler. Ra was the great sun god of Egypt, and for the ancient world, that meant everything began and ended with him. Egyptians believed Ra was the source of life, the force behind creation, and the eternal ruler of the skies. Every day he sailed across the heavens in his solar bark, bringing light and order to the world. But when the sun set, his journey wasn't over. Ra descended into the underworld, facing the serpent Apophis, a monstrous embodiment of chaos. If Ra won, then the sun rose again. If he lost, well, the world would fall into darkness forever. For Egyptians, Ra was more than just a god of the sun. He was the cycle of life itself, birth, death, and renewal. Pharaohs claimed to be descended from him, linking their power directly to his divine authority. To worship Ra was to celebrate creation, order, and the promise of a new dawn every single morning. Osiris, Lord of the Afterlife. Osiris was one of the most important deities in ancient Egypt, known as the god of death, resurrection, and fertility. His story is central to Egyptian mythology. Osiris was murdered by his brother Set, driven by jealousy and a thirst for power. Isis, Osiris's devoted wife, gathered his scattered body parts, used her magic to restore him, and brought him back to life long enough to conceive their son, Horus. After this, Osiris descended to the underworld where he became ruler and judge of the dead. In Egyptian belief, the afterlife was not simply darkness. It was a continuation of existence, governed by Osiris. Souls of the dead were led before him to have their hearts weighed against the father of Ma'at, the symbol of truth and justice. A balanced heart meant eternal life. A heavy heart meant destruction. To Egyptians, Osiris symbolized the promise of rebirth, the assurance that death was not the end, but a transformation into eternity. Isis, the goddess of magic and motherhood. Isis was one of the most beloved and widely worshipped goddesses in ancient Egypt. Isis was renowned for her healing abilities, protective demeanor, and magical abilities. In her most well-known tale, she employed strong magic to revive her husband, Osiris, after he had died. Because of this, she was regarded as the best magician of all the gods. Through her love and determination, Isis not only restored Osiris, but also gave birth to their son Horus, making sure their royal bloodline continued. Isis was revered as a mother figure, fiercely protective of Horus, and symbolic of maternal care for all of Egypt. People worshipped Isis not only in Egypt but also in many other places around the Mediterranean. Temples dedicated to her were built as far away as Greece and Rome. She was loved everywhere as a goddess of kindness, love, and strength. To her followers, Isis represented the ultimate guardian, a healer in times of suffering and a powerful protector against harm. She was a reminder that love, devotion, and wisdom could overcome even death itself. Horus, the sky god and divine kingship. Horus, the falcon-headed sky god, was the living symbol of kingship and divine protection in ancient Egypt. He was believed to embody every pharaoh, serving as the bridge between the gods and humanity. His epic battle against Set, who murdered his father Osiris, represented the eternal struggle of order versus chaos. After a long conflict, Horus triumphed, restoring harmony and claiming his place as rightful ruler. One of the most powerful symbols connected to him is the Eye of Horus, a mark of protection, healing, and restoration. For Egyptians, Horus wasn't just a god of the sky. He was the embodiment of divine rulership, ensuring that the pharaoh ruled with strength, justice, and balance. Set, god of chaos and storms. Set was one of the most complex figures in Egyptian mythology. He was the god of chaos, deserts, storms, and disorder. Most people know him as the brother who murdered Osiris, scattering his body and sparking one of the most dramatic feuds in myth. This act cemented his reputation as a bringer of violence and destruction. Yet Set was never seen as entirely evil. In fact, Egyptians understood him as a necessary force of nature, dangerous, but essential. While Set represented drought, conflict, and chaos, he was also a protector of the cosmos. Each night, as Ra traveled through the underworld, Set stood at the front of the solar bark, defending it against Apophis, the monstrous serpent of darkness. Without him, the sun might never rise again. This duality made Set unique. He was both feared and respected. He symbolized the unpredictability of life, the desert winds, the sudden storms, the upheavals no one could control. Egyptians knew that chaos was inevitable, but through Set, they saw that even disorder had a role in maintaining the balance of the universe. Anubis, guardian of the dead. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, was deeply associated with death, but not in a fearful way. Instead, he was seen as a guardian, a guide who ensured the dead were treated with care and fairness. Anubis oversaw the process of mummification, protecting bodies for their journey into the afterlife. To the Egyptians, preserving the body was essential, and Anubis's presence gave them confidence that death was not an end, but a passage. His most iconic role was in the judgment of souls. Anubis weighed the heart of the deceased against the feather of Maat, the symbol of truth and balance. A heart lighter than the feather meant eternal life. A heart heavy with wrongdoing was devoured by Ammit, the soul leader. Through this ritual, Anubis represented justice and morality, ensuring no one could cheat their way into eternity. Though his jackal form looked intimidating, Egyptians saw him as a protector, walking with the dead through uncertainty. He was the silent guardian at the threshold of eternity, both a comfort and a reminder that one's deeds in life would always matter. Bastet, goddess of cats and home. Bastet was one of the most adored goddesses of ancient Egypt, celebrated as the goddess of home, fertility, music, and protection. She was often depicted as a woman with the head of a cat, or sometimes as a fierce lioness. This dual nature reflected her personality, gentle and nurturing, yet fierce when it came to defending her loved ones. Cats in ancient Egypt were sacred animals admired for their grace and protective instincts. Bastet embodied these qualities, making her not just a goddess, but also a cultural symbol. Families kept cats in their homes as living symbols of Bastet's blessing, believing they brought good fortune and protection against evil spirits and pests. Though associated with joy, dance, and warmth, Bastet was not to be underestimated. In her lioness form, she became a warrior goddess who fought fiercely to defend the gods and Egypt itself. This balance between nurturing love and protective ferocity made her one of the most relatable and widely worshipped figures in the Egyptian pantheon. Thoth, keeper of knowledge and writing. Thoth, the ibis-headed god, was revered as the master of wisdom, writing, and knowledge. Egyptians believed he invented hieroglyphs, making him the patron of scribes and scholars. He was often depicted holding a writing palette and a reed pen, recording divine events with precision. Thoth's role extended far beyond writing. He was considered a mediator who maintained balance among the gods, offering wise counsel during disputes. In the judgment of the dead, Thoth stood beside the scales of Maat, carefully recording the outcome as Anubis weighed the heart. His impartiality made him the embodiment of fairness and truth. Thoth was also linked to the moon, representing cycles of time and order into the cosmos. To Egyptians, he was not only a keeper of knowledge, but also a cosmic architect, ensuring harmony across heaven and earth. His influence reached beyond Egypt, inspiring later traditions that valued wisdom, learning, and the power of the written word. To worship Thoth was to honor the pursuit of truth and intellectual growth.